Hey, Gearheads. Hey, Tar Heel State Hangers. Hey, the rest of the people out in Hammock Land. This is Pickl with Gear-Report.com, and you are on the Hangin with Pickl and Mike show. Mike was right here and then went away, and I think he's backstage. So let's bring him on. Mike, are you out there? Mike, are you out there? No, we don't have Mike yet. So, welcome to the Hanging with Pickl and Mike show. I'm trying to message him right quick. We're having some, I guess, technical issues today. Welcome to the Hanging with Pickl and Mike show on Thursday nights. We are into the new Hammock Hangers edition, part 2. Tonight we've got a couple hammock hangers that are new to hammock camping and everything. Let me just go ahead and bring everybody into the stream. First off, we'll go from experience in hammock camping. We'll bring on Miss Christy Pixley, aka Moonshine, who's got, as she's told me, 7 nights in a hammock camping. We're gonna bring on Miss Jennifer Craig, aka Janae, who has about 30 minutes in a hammock in my backyard. And we're gonna bring on my brother from another mother from across the Great Wide Divide, G23, who is brand new to hammock camping and has only been into a Pawleys Island hammock. And just to make everything all go smoothly, here comes Mike. All right, so Mike made it. Mike, you out there?
Mike, hey.
Everybody got their ears on?
Yeah.
Tell everybody hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome, everyone, and thanks for the invite.
Hey, no, thanks for coming on. So, before we get into this, let's see. Oima Sanchez, welcome. Thank you for coming back. I believe you were the first one in here. And then we got Mr. Trailheads himself, John Rammel. Thank you, sir, again for a wonderful time and your hang a couple weeks ago. Dosey, welcome across the border. J3, thanks for coming back. Let's see. Mike, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good now that I finally sat down and got still. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, now that you've back to the old grindstone with the rest of us 9-to-5ers. You've been running a little ragged.
You late.
Oh, I know. I'm up there right with you at 5:30 in the damn morning on the East Coast. So, I want to thank everybody. Just kind of dawdling a little bit here, letting a few more people get into it. What you sipping on there, Mike?
Mr. Joe, say his last name for me.
Yeah, John's saying wrong color drinking that glass. I think he was referencing that to Moonshine, to be honest with you, because that glass is awful dark for the fluid that she's drinking.
That's all right. I got something for her.
Oh, there is a jug available in town.
No.
Oh, you know what? We may allude to it a little bit on this show, but I'm not going to completely call her out under the carpet.
Thank you.
As to why her nickname, trail name went from Nashville to Moonshine, I will let y'all connect those dots, but the pretty shade of red that her face is turning right now and the covering of the eyes should answer a few questions.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, Blair?
Yeah, hey, Blair.
And Miss Karen is in here. Mr. Arp's in here. Boy, we just got everybody from the state of Ohio, or at least the people that matter.
Oh,
Now, The correct question is, was it apple pie moon?
Oh no, sir. This was straight clear. I would call it run of the mill, but there wasn't anything ordinary about this.
Yeah, no.
Mr. Rammel provided, I believe final count was we went through 2 gallons of the clear stuff. There was a 1/5 of Devil's Cut. There were 5 or 6 cases of beer. I know I showed up with 2 bottles of red wine. There was a fully stocked bar table full of everything else. I think he calculated another 2/5 of everything else that he put up, and yeah, it was a good weekend to be consumed by all.
That was not jet fuel. That was rocket.
That was not jet fuel. That was not
what
rocket
NASA
fuel.
uses.
I can honestly say I did not need help getting to my hammock.
That hurts.
Some people needed help. Oh, look, there's my better half.
Hey, Amanda.
Some people needed help getting to. See, people, she is real.
Yeah.
Some people needed help getting to their hammocks. Some people didn't quite make it to their hammocks. I'm not going to say anything. I'll just leave that one floating in the air or
right there,
laying on the ground. Yeah.
I was perfectly fine where I was. I didn't want to make it to my hammock. I didn't need help. I found my spot and I claimed it.
Oh yeah, and thanks, John. There are about 6 pints of high volume content craft beers drank.
John wants you to show Mike's pic sleeping under the table.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
I didn't take it.
Oh, come on. Somebody send it to Pickl.
I'm innocent. I don't have it. Nobody sent it to me.
Pickl.
So if somebody would send it over, I will throw it into John. I know you've got it. Go ahead and send it through to the chat. We'll put it up.
It's actually in the group photos if you
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there were some in the group photos.
I was talking about in the group chat.
Yeah, but I gotta find the group chat. Let's see. Yeah, there's some of that group chat photos that I don't want to come to the light of day. Oh, here. Oh wait, no, I can't show firearm usage on this channel. Sorry.
You can't?
Against
why not?
Against terms of service for YouTube, they'll demonetize it. So we're not going to show a picture of Nashville shooting that shotgun with the 64-inch barrel.
That was a lot of fun.
You can show pictures. You cannot show. Somebody cannot hold a live firearm.
Right, but this was a video of her shooting it.
Yeah, that's fine because it's not actually a like. If I held a firearm, that would be a whole different thing than if I showed a picture of a firearm.
Let's see. Let's go with a few random photos from the weekend. If you guys, I need to share the screen. Boom. If you could tell, that was, I want to say, Saturday night. There was some fun going on there. Oh, here's the picture in question. We all want to agree that Mike is not completely on the ground. He does still have his hand in the air. So we're calling that technically hanging. Oh, look, Derek showed up.
I was hanging on to make sure nobody took the table away.
Yep,
Yeah,
making sure the table wasn't stolen. Karen was making delicious margaritas. I didn't even get one of those margaritas. Of course, every time I turned around, John was handing me a solo cup and a shot glass. So, let's see. what else. Yeah, that we will leave it at that and bring it back to all of us. There we go. Because there's some stuff in those videos I don't feel like showing. Oh yeah, you're right. I got to show this one as well. Just since we're telling on ourselves, it goes around, it comes around.
Yeah.
I made very sure that when it came back around, it came around to me in spades. So I got that is my floor mat, and if you can't read it, it says Trail Diva. Because I'm kind of high maintenance on the trail. And yes, that is a blue dragon in my pocket. I'm not just happy to see you. So, where are we at? Let's see.
I'm right here.
You're right here. You're right there. There. Okay. Hey, we're all here. Cool.
Party.
So, with that, I bring us all to our topic for the evening, which is new hammock camping questions. So let her rip, guys. I'm gonna turn it over to y'all unless Mike, you have anything to start.
Yes. With this subject that we're fixing to discuss about newbies to hammock camping, you're going to hear us referring to cottage vendor gear a lot. We highly recommend and push the cottage vendor gear, and it's not because we're being gear snobs. It's because we've done and been there and done that, and we're actually trying to save you money in the long run by having you purchase the best product that you can to begin with. So instead of purchasing something for $30, 3 months down the road, you're going to spend $150 to upgrade, whereas you could have spent $100, $150 to begin with and had a high quality, very comfortable, dependable product. So just wanted to clear that up because there's been some speculations that a lot of people that push the cottage vendor gear are gear snobs. That's not the case. We're speaking from experience and knowledge because we've been there and done that.
You know, it is very easy to get wrapped up into the, well, you know, this hammock on Amazon is only $20. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. I think I can give it a shot. Or, oh, look, there are Enos everywhere. Everybody's got an Eno. They say they're the best hammock on the planet. They must be, you know, top notch, and then go out and spend $300, $400, $500 on a full Eno setup. And while I'm not saying it won't work, because when you started out with your very first car, mine was a 1986 Buick.
Nice.
Which was really classy ride. I'm just gonna say, when I went out and bought my 90 in 98, 97, 98, I went out and bought a 92 Infiniti sedan. That was a pretty nice car. That was really, really nice. It was quite a bit more than that 86 Buick, and it was nicer, but there were still nicer cars out at that time. So while, whoa, that was loud. While camping in a tent gets you into the outdoors, and then switching over to that Eno rig will get you off the ground and is a game changer for level of comfort.
Yeah.
There's different levels of game changers. I think Christy can actually speak to this, having slept in. You've got 7 nights in hammocks.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
I just wish I had found Tar Heel State hangers prior to spending several $100s on a full Eno type set I bought from Wise Owl Outfitters. Okay. Then I decided to get on Facebook and search for hammock camping groups. Never spent one night in my setup. Hung it a bunch during the day on day hikes, and it's fine for that, but it's not something I'd ever want to spend a full night in.
You said that was Wazoo?
Yeah, it's a local Nashville company, which is kind of what sucked me in.
That's another thing that people fall under the misillusion of. The company may be based in Nashville, but the products are not made there.
Made in China, yeah.
They're made in China and bought in bulk. All of these 3-panel hammocks that you see on Amazon.
It doesn't matter if it's Yukon Outfitters, Wise Owl Outfitters, Rocky Peak, something, dump. In most cases, if it's a 3-panel hammock, it was built and assembled in China for about $3 to $4.
Yeah, your basic parachute.
You can buy them in bulk at $3 a piece and have any label sewn on them. I've had many manufacturer companies offer to make me my brand of hammock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could come out with some Tar Heel State Hangers hammocks or some Gear Report hammocks, but they're just going to be 9.5 to maybe 10 foot if you're lucky 3-panel hammocks. That they work, they get you off the ground, but there's a better, more economical way that's even much more comfortable.
Yeah.
So, I recommend either going to rule number 1, if you're interested in hammock camping and you are a new person to it, there's a lot of information. There's a huge learning curve. There's some really good books out there. Jenny, you've got my first edition. Ultimate Hang. I know Christy just picked up Ultimate Hang 2.
It's a great book. Yeah.
Edition 2. They are really good books. Get it, read it. It reads like a comic book and isn't bad.
Let's see.
I will say there is one brand out there that is not. There's the book. There is one brand out there that is a 3-panel hammock, but is not made overseas. And I know somebody kicked it out in there. John kicked it out. Majestic Hammocks out of Iowa is not an overseas hammock. They are American-made hammocks by Americans for Americans, but they chose to go with a 3-panel design. So once schedules allow, we will have the owner on the show. And I want to wait and dive into that subject with that company when that time comes around. I don't know. I don't know if I like it or not, so I don't want to spend a lot. Yep, that's what they all say. And if you buy bad gear, it's the best way to make sure you don't like the hobby. Very much.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like going to Walmart and buying running shoes to go jogging in. You jog for a mile and you got 10 blisters on your feet because you wanted to be cheap and only spend $10 on a pair of shoes. Whereas if you'd have spent $100, you could have ran 1,000 miles and never got the first blister. Theoretically,
the best YouTube experience or YouTube reference for this that I can come up with is Dixie, Homemade Wanderlust. Everybody knows her. When she started her AT through hike, she started off in a hammock.
Yeah.
She started with an Eno with a Polycro homemade tarp, no under quilt, and a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
She froze her tushy off the first week, 2 weeks that she used it, got to mountain crossings, proceeded to junk the hammock system and buy a $400 tent. So already I've spent $100 on my setup and I'm going to chunk it and then go to a $400 tent. Yeah. So that's already an apples to oranges comparison, even just in price tags, let alone, hammock to tarp. So to each their own. Some people can't get comfy in it. I will say Hammock Campers is in a generalness. The longer you're around Hammock Campers, the more you're going to realize they're kind of whiny, or we're kind of whiny. If I don't like your brand and you hear I don't like your brand, I don't know. I've been blocked by a couple manufacturers just because said that their brand wasn't for me. Not going to throw anybody under the bus. Not going to leave out any names, but, let's just say when I eat my 3 apples, I don't stack them tall.
So, Pickl, Blair asked about winter clothing.
Winter clothing, yes.
And it made me think of Ridge Merino that you referred me to. So, address that.
Yes. Since we are getting into the fall and into the winter, you can go out in your classic London fog heavy coat that your mama bundled you up in as a kid and be just fine. There's a better way to do it. One, cotton kills. That is never a lie. Stay away from cotton. The reason cotton kills is when you sweat in it or it gets wet, it stops insulating. It just completely goes away. And you'll be cold and you're not going to be able to get warm. It takes forever to dry, so on and so forth. Wool is, in my opinion, the best. There is a onslaught of alpaca fibers coming on that work. Wool does a very good job of thermal regulating. It will still insulate when it's wet. It does a good job wicking moisture away from your body. And there's pretty good smell retention.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't stink.
It doesn't stink.
Not even after a weekend with no shower. It doesn't stink.
You spend 3-4 days hiking in the woods, sleeping in your wool base layer every night. It's not going to stink. That goes for wool t-shirts, wool boxers. I hike all summer long in a black wool t-shirt. After a weekend, I get home. I stink. I stink to all Lord Almighty, but my shirt doesn't. And my wife has full in her face sniffed my shirt, and she said it smelled like cotton. So, you win some, you lose some. With outside of wool, Blair, I highly recommend that you layer, because you've got your skin, and then you throw the wool next to it, and then you've got, say, your nylon pants or a fleece layer, depending on how cold it is, because I know you're from Ohio, so it's going to be cold. And then you've got your hard shell on out of that. As your body loses heat, it goes from the skin to the wool. And then as it escapes the wool, it goes to the nylon. And then as it escapes the nylon, it goes to that hard outer waterproof shell. So you've got different layers of insulation. Or as throughout the day, if you get warmer, you can take a layer off. You don't go straight from that coat to a t-shirt or to nothing. You can drop that outer layer and still have 3 layers on, or you can drop that nylon layer if it's windy, breezy, or whatnot, and then you can juggle it a little bit better.
If you're doing something being active, start delayering before you start sweating. At the very first sign that you're starting to warm up, start coming out of the layers. Because the last thing you want to do is sweat.
Or my biggest problem, and this is honest true, when I pack up camp in the morning for that day's hiking, I'm usually up at the crack of dawn when daylight hits my tent. So by the time everybody else rolls out of tent, unless I've made way too much noise around camp or we've set alarms, I'm usually through my cup of coffee. Oh, yeah, out of hammock, sorry. I had a little bit to drink. Back off.
Now we know what's been going on up there in Linville Gorge.
Hey.
You getting in the tent and earning your rat patch?
Ooh, them's fighting words, Mike.
I was asking a question.
You ain't coming up to the gorge to hike, so I don't want to hear it.
Definitely not if you're getting in the tent.
So, I'm sitting around the camp, had my coffee, got my hammock, tarp, quilts, everything packed up while Mike's still in there snoozing. And once.
Well, that was after he made it from the gravel to his hammock.
Yeah, that was after he made it from the gravel back to the hammock. So my gears,
Yeah,
I'm ready to go hiking.
24-hour period.
I'm ready to go hiking, but I've still got all my layers on because I'm really just sitting around at camp in the cold, not doing anything. So now when he's ready to go, I have to figure out how to de-layer that nice warm base layer on that I've got that's kept me warm all night, and then move on down the road. So that's something that I deal with on every trip. Also recommend sleeping in as little clothing as you can, as you feel comfortable with. Reason being is in the wintertime, just call it a base layer. I will strictly just sleep in a base layer.
Yeah.
But I won't sleep in the fleece pant, the mid layer or the outer layer. There's two thoughts on that idea. It's sleep in nothing or sleep in everything. If you sleep in everything and you wake up in the morning and it's cold out, you don't have anything to put on. So if you've got your base layer on, you've got your puffy on, you've got your hat on, you're going to be warm. Rock on, bravo. But when you get out that next morning and go to start with coffee, this, that, and the other, you don't have anything extra to put on unless you're just taking your quilts with you, which Jack's Are Better has a really nice product to allow you to do that. On the flip side, if you sleep in just your base layer, as you get out, you can then add those layers on. So while your body's extra warm from being in the quilts, as it's losing that heat, those extra layers are retaining it. That's just my philosophy on that.
And wearing all of your clothes is going to keep your body heat trapped in and not let it get out to help the quilts get warm and do their job.
Correct.
You can actually wear too much clothing when you sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Another pro tip: if you've got them, throw a hot hands chemical warmer or two inside your hammock about 30 to 45 minutes to an hour before you go to bed. They're good for 8, sometimes 12, 16 hours, and they will heat up your quilts for you so that you get in and they're all nice and toasty warm. Plus, they make pretty good little feet warmers.
Yeah, I bought some at Cabela's when we were at the Tar Heel State Hangers hang, thinking because I'd been cold the first 2 times that I'd been in a hammock. And with that 0 degree, I didn't need it. I did not need it. So kudos to you, Pickl, and to John, because I was in a Banshee with a 0 degree underquilt, 30 degree sleeping bag.
Yep.
Didn't need it. So
let's see.
You can also do that with a water bottle. Heat you up some water and put it in a bottle and stick it in there. I'm just funny about having water around my quilt, so I go with hot.
2 of us.
Well, so I have a question.
Fire away.
Me being the complete noob.
Yeah.
I don't have anything. I don't know some of the stuff that you're talking about.
Okay.
So
that's why you're here. So any question you got, now's the time, because that's the whole point of the next 2 hours.
Well, it's like Christy was just saying. She was saying, what was it? 0 underquilt. I mean, I have no clue.
Okay.
You will.
All right. So you've got, let me get to a photo. Here we go. That'll work. Share screen, share that screen. Boom. All right. So you've got, this is my summertime camping setup. This is my Banshee with my Jack's Are Better 40 degree underquilt and DCF winter tarp. So you can see the gray hammock and then this blue sleeping bag. All right. It's called an underquilt. It goes on the outside of your hammock. The reason it goes on the outside of your hammock is when you're laying in your hammock, anything under you is going to be squished flat because it's being flattened between you and the hammock. The whole point of camping gear keeping insulation and keeping you warm is so that the body heat that you lose gets trapped in the negative space between the feathers.
Okay.
So it has to be lofted up and fluffy. If it's compressed flat, there's no negative space for that heat to get trapped in, and it passes right through it.
And if there's one piece of gear that you are absolutely not going to skimp on, it's your underquilt. That is like your most important piece of gear. A cheap hammock will get you hanging. A cheap tarp will keep you dry. But cheap insulation is just not worth staking your comfort and, you know, even your life on trying to save $1 or $2 and going with an inferior product.
My coldest night in a hammock, the low temperature was 75 degrees, or maybe it was 72 degrees. It was above 70 degrees, and I did not have an underquilt. And the wind just completely just sucked it out of me. You're in a hammock, so the sign that you see as you cross a bridge that says bridge freezes before the road because of the air blowing around the bridge. Same way with you and your hammock. So that quilt needs to be nice and puffy and fluffy under you so that when you lose your heat through the hammock, it gets trapped in that underquilt and it keeps you warm.
And Jenny, once you spend the night, you will know what kind of sleeper you are. I had no idea I was a cold sleeper. I'm not a cold sleeper at home. What were the nighttime temps, guys? At well, I guess Pickl, you were the only one that was at John Rock. Mid-60s?
John Rock, Christy was in that quilt set. So it was a 50 at top and a 40 below or underneath, and the lows are supposed to be in the mid-60s.
And I froze, like I shivered all night long.
So the first night she shivered. The second night I made sure there weren't any air gaps, and she shivered. The third night, I took the tensile down. I moved to this, so I pulled it over to my hammock, and I had a 40-degree Sierra Madre set in the Jeep that I loaned out and put her in that, and she was still cold at 60 degrees.
Warmer, but still cold.
Warmer, but still cold.
Yeah.
So when she needed quilts for trailheads because her custom set wasn't ready yet, I wanted to make sure that she didn't complain to me that she was cold. So I gave her a 0-degree hammock gear underquilt.
Yeah.
And by 0 degree, when it comes to quilt temperatures, be very careful with your companies. The bigger brands like Kelty, I'm just going to say it, Enlightened Equipment, Outdoor Vitals, in some cases, Big Agnes, their 20-degree quilt is a survivability rating.
Yeah.
Which means it's only going to be comfortable down to 35 or 40. At 20 degrees, you're going to be cold, but you're not going to be frostbit and dead.
Yeah.
With Jacks Are Better, that 40-degree quilt means you should be comfortable at 40 degrees. You should be able to survive at about 30 degrees. Christy, on the other hand...
Yeah, John made a good point.
Moisture can cause issues as well.
That was the issue at John Rock. It rained all weekend.
It rained all weekend. It was very humid. That quilt is a 900 fill power quilt and needed a bath. So I'm thinking some of it didn't loft up, but I used it Saturday night. I was fine. I've used it on a couple trips since then. That picture was after that hang up on top of on the Black Mountain Crest Trail. So I was at 6,000 feet elevation in the clouds, and it was still very cool. So I think after 7 nights in hammocks, Christy's just one of those cold sleepers, and she's going to be carrying a 0-degree underquilt year round.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, It's worth it though. And I feel like now that I've slept in 3 different hammocks, 3 different underquilt sets, I feel like there's really no reason that anybody should be cold or uncomfortable in a hammock. It just takes some patience and some tweaking and some dialing it in to figure out what kind of sleeper you are and what makes you comfortable, but it can be done for sure.
So tell us about your experience. 7 nights, 3 different hammocks, 3 different quilt sets.
Yeah. Well, we've already talked a little bit about John Rock. My very first night ever in a hammock. Of course, I was nervous about all the things new campers are nervous about: noises in the woods, having to get up to pee in the night, pooping in the woods, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because that first night at John Rock was your first night in
very
the woods.
First overnight. Yeah.
Not just in a hammock, but period.
In a long time. Yeah, okay. In 20 years. Yeah. All the other stuff I was afraid of, I wasn't afraid of when I got there. I wasn't afraid of animals. I wasn't afraid of pooping in the woods. None of that. What I should have been afraid of was being cold, which was something I didn't think about.
Why would you in the middle of the summertime?
Do what?
Why would you in the middle of the summertime?
Yeah, I had no idea. And then I guess Barry's not on tonight. Then Barry, Deanna, and G and I went to the Smokies. And I think I was in a Juniper by Autumn Ultralight. Is Anne Marie in here tonight?
Yeah, no, I thought I saw. No, not yet.
Okay. And I was comfortable, but my underquilt was I think a Sierra Madre, which is not made to fit under a Juniper.
No, and their gear kind of is good for their gear and their gear alone, in my opinion.
I think the temps were in the low 60s that night. I woke up, I had in the night, and I don't remember doing, I put my beanie on, my puffy on, I was fully clothed, and I woke up freezing, and the underquilt was next to me. So at the Trailheads Hang was the first time all 3 nights I was warm, I was comfortable. I mean, the moonshine probably helped, but yeah, I was in a Banshee. I don't know what quilts I was in, Pickl. You'd have to tell me.
My 0 degree hammock gear, underquilt, and a 30 degree Outdoor Vitals sleeping bag.
And honestly, I could have lived without the sleeping bag. I was warm enough with the underquilt, but I had my wool base layer on. That was the first time I had my rich merino base layer on. Yep. And I was totally comfortable, totally warm, slept like a baby.
Mike, were you totally comfortable and totally warm on the ground under the shelter Saturday night? My man.
He was just trying not to puke.
Don't smile like that, Jenny, because if you'd come, you'd have been stumbling to your hammock too.
I still say I was the smart one from the stories I've heard about y'all getting to your hammocks. As rough as
I had perfectly gentleman-like escorts to my hammock, and I made it there just fine. Thank you, Arp and Pickl. Slept great.
I remember Saturday night, Arp and I sitting around the campfire. Christy walks off. She walks to the edge of the campfire light, looking in the woods, and stops.
I don't know. There was a guy that was saying that you can, the vendors can make a DCF tarp for $50. So I don't know.
Heard that.
I saw that.
I have heard that recently. Yeah.
So I don't know, Walker, that cubic fiber DCF is expensive or not. Not according to that guy's math.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I looked at Arp and I said, "It's your turn tonight, man." I directed her to her hammock last night. He went, "Oh, all right," and walked her back to the back 40 so that she. 10 minutes later, he shows back up at the campfire. She puked. No, not yet.
I wouldn't
trust your quilts in the morning.
I did not puke.
Yep, John brought Mike a pillow and a quilt and a pad. And Mike was probably arguing with him at that time.
No, I don't think I was arguing. I think I said, okay. I did find the pad and
I would have just left him where you like.
I did not find the pillow. I knew the pillow was there, but I just could not find it.
He didn't go far. I think it was one of those, he kind of rolled back, pad placed, and then rolled forward. It was kind of a
pretty much.
But yeah, Saturday night there was some beverages consumed.
Just a few.
There was some beverages consumed. It was a good time. But when you know it's going to be a good time when the fire pit's 12 or 18 foot long and 12 foot wide and 3 foot deep.
So wait, Dosey says alcohol will cause you to be cold much quicker. Is that true?
Yeah, it constricts your blood vessels. Same way with smoking. It'll constrict your blood vessels, and it will cause you to get cold.
Stepping on my toes.
I'm just stating medical facts here.
Well, I think I was so tipsy, and I use the term tipsy very lightly. Sean needed containers for the range Sunday.
Negative, Ghost Rider. That is not proper, and I would not be on a range if containers were available. Of course, I wasn't on that range on Sunday either, so.
We were all so hungover, Ark. There's no way. Nope. That was a rough morning.
Let's see. Next question.
Okay.
Fire away, Jenny. Seriously, go. Fire away.
I'm on a budget.
Okay.
And I need to know. I want to do this. This is interesting. Okay. And I've heard you talk all about it for how long now? Years. So, I mean, of course, I'm interested. I spent 10 minutes, 10, 20 minutes in your backyard for the first time. I'm on a budget. I can't go out and just plop $200 and $300.
If you're truly interested, and this just doesn't go for you, this goes for anybody out there listening. If you are interested in getting into hammock camping, it's I'm not going to say it's complicated, but there is a learning curve. There's a lot of terms that you're not used to and you're not going to hear. There's a lot of different options. There's a lot of good options and there's a few bad options. And like any rookie or newbie in the process, as you've heard, you're going to make bad choices to start with.
That's why I have you.
That's why you have me. Yes. For everybody else, I'm still going to, put it to you this way. Find a group hang. Contact the group. Find a group hang.
Yeah.
Ask to borrow a rig from somebody. When I went up to Trailheads, I had 4 hammock rigs with me in case somebody stumbled into camp and say, we heard about this. We'd like to try it out. We don't have any gear. We don't know what we're doing. Or if somebody showed up and, I don't know, forgot their hammock or packed the wrong hammock or, packed something they shouldn't have brought. I always tend to carry an extra rig. So ask. Do your investigations. The best place to see it happen is at a group camp, is at a group hang, because as Christy got to experience at Trailheads, there were, I think John said, 81 people on site. Now, there were a couple tents, but throughout the weekend, that's 81 different camping rigs in the woods, and nobody assembled it, put it together, or had the exact same stuff. So you're going to get that's your REI. That's your chance to learn everything your pretty little brain can absorb over a weekend. And I promise you, if you walked up to a rig and be like, hey, whose is this? I got some questions. Within 3 minutes, somebody would be there, whether it's their rig or not. Somebody's going to be there to answer your questions, because the one thing hammock campers love to do is talk about hammocks.
John made a very good point about being on a budget.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you can't get good gear. If you want a good tent and you want a top-of-the-line tent, that's $500.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a one-time purchase. You're going to spend $500 at one time. If you want a good hammock setup with the quilts, you're probably looking closer to $800 to $1,000 because of the quilts, depending on the season. But
you can do it in 5.
You could do it in 5. Yeah, you could comparably do it in 5. But my $800 worth of hammock quilts took me 3 years to build. Yeah, now, I did it like most people. I bought lousy. It got through, realized I wanted to do it. I bought a little bit nicer because that's what I could afford. And then I bought a little bit nicer, and then I bought a little bit nicer. And then I just went full hog and have spent a bunch of money.
And
for you personally, come on down to the REI and pick out what you want.
Jenny, go to a group hang, and I would say go to 3 or 4 or 5, and I've only been to 3 hangs, because you've got to try different things to find out what works for you before you spend a crap ton of money on a bunch of crap. And Chris said that, and then Dosey made a suggestion also about a hammock hang. That would be a $0 commitment, just your time. You'll have a blast, and you'll learn a little bit more about what's comfortable for you.
Hammock campers do a lot of good in the woods. They sit around, they eat a lot of food, and they talk hammocks.
They drink a lot,
and they drink a lot too, depending on where it's at. Gee, what you thinking over there, man? You've been a little quiet.
Well, I come from a different background than, so right. I'm 6 foot. I'm 6 foot 350.
Okay.
And how many people carry a hammock on them where you could go test it that would hold you through the night?
For 350?
There's quite a many guys.
There's quite a bit. I will say I only weigh 200, so I'm not buying hammocks for 350-pound people. I'm buying hammocks for me at 200 pounds. So I think of my 7 or 8 hammocks, I want to say 4 or 5 of them top out at 330. But it just requires a double layered hammock, and you're easily up to 425, 450. So we can get you in a hammock. Obviously, it's not the first time somebody's told you they don't have something that fits you. So, if you give us the heads up time, I promise you we can find you something that will fit you. I'm trying to get a picture up. Dosey knows who I'm talking about. Mike knows who I'm talking about when I say Captain Smiley. Trying to find that picture of him in the Tato stand. So bear with me for a minute.
Pickl, I was just going to say that's one thing I love about the hammock hangs is that hangers come in all varieties. And that's one of the things I love, meeting new people. They're all shapes and sizes from all different backgrounds. And there is zero judgment. At least I didn't experience any. Everybody was very helpful with my newbie ignorant question.
You was judged. You was judged. I'm
not going to flip you off because this is a family-friendly show. But that's what I'm doing in my mind right now, Mike.
I'm the one that slept on the ground. I mean, I didn't try to go hide. I just right there in the middle of the eating hall, right there in the kitchen.
Yeah, he was right there in the kitchen.
I'm just saying, Pickl made me. So when we got to camp, was it Thursday, Pickl? And I was already a little tipsy, and I was so frustrated because I didn't know any of the. He said, "Just do the Beckett hitch. Just do that." And I was like, "Speak English." I don't know what you're talking about.
I've done this for you twice now.
I know, but I'm just saying it took me a while, but it was okay. And was it Saturday that you made me take the whole thing down, put the whole thing back up again? I was like, "Thank you for being."
When she was sober, we took an hour and a half.
Yeah.
On Saturday. And I love it. I made her set up my hammock chair. And she's like, why am I setting this up?
I was fanning
because this is the suspension you're using.
I can see that.
Okay. So she set it up. Once she had it set up, I set my happy little self down and started sipping on my drink and said, okay, get to it.
But it was really helpful to have to do it a few times with people who know what they're talking about.
So yeah, it requires practice. It does. It really does. It is more complicated than setting up a tent in the woods. It is. I think it's more fun.
Yeah, I was
Some
gonna say it's
people,
definitely more fun. That's part of what makes it more complicated, because you start learning, okay, I do it this way, and then you start improving on that and doing another little step that just a little variation of what you were doing. Might be using your extra strap as a drip line, just little things. That's why you'll hear Pickle and them joke at me about I wait till after dark to set up majority of the time. And it's because if I go over there and do it during the daylight,
it's an
I'm gonna
all-day
sit
affair.
there and I'm gonna nitpick it and I'm gonna play with it and I'm gonna be over there for an hour and a half setting it up, trying to get every little thing just prim and proper. Whereas if I wait till it's dark and it's time to go to bed, 5-10 minutes, I'm done. I'm in my hammock.
Yep. So I don't have I don't have that picture, but Dosey and I know somebody. There we go. Thank you, Dosey. I appreciate that. Let me get that picture up. All right, and we will add this to the stream. All right, we've got Dosey in the yellow. We've got Mr. Tally. We got Captain Smiley. We got Junebug Dawn, and we got Mr. Glenn Shear. And you tell me which ones are north of 350. I'm not going to embarrass anybody on this show, but I know at one point Captain Smiley was, don't quote me on this, but I believe he was north of 600 pounds. So do they make hammocks out there for people over 350? You betcha. Do we know people that do it over 350? You betcha. Do I want a little bit of a heads up for you showing up being over 350 to find you something comfy? You betcha. Because I don't have that in my stable.
It's really no different than me showing up and being freezing cold. You would have never guessed. It's just a different complication to work through.
Yeah. But once you figure out what that complication is, it's an easy fix. Moonshine over here just needs more quilts than everybody else in camp.
Yeah. We had a guy, he come to one of our group hangs. He had been hanging for 20 years, and he said he could never get his hammock comfortable. And we were like, come on out to the group hang it up how you hang it up, and then come get us and let us take a look at it.
Yep.
And it might be a micro adjustment. And sure enough, he needed to loosen his hammock up that much or something. It was his ridge line. It was one little simple thing.
Yep.
And in 20 seconds, we fixed his mistake that he had been having for 20 years.
He climbed in the hammock, and 10 minutes later he was asleep and took a 3-hour nap. Right then and there. So, it's, and in some cases it's not intuitive. I had a buddy that was cussing about his tarp, and his tarp didn't work. He couldn't get the inner pole mod working on his tarp, and he was ready to throw the tarp out because it wasn't right. I had him come over to the house. We set the tarp up. As he's setting it up, I knew what the problem was. I walked inside. I grabbed 2 lengths of cordage, and when he started cussing, I threw the cordage around the pole mod and tied it to the end of the tarp, and voila, it was fixed. And all he needed was 3 foot of cordage tied to the lines to hold the poles up. So, sometimes you get into those moods and you just can't get around and get out.
Dusty, what fabric are you running on your hammocks?
I think most of Dosey's are double layers. If I recall correctly, Dosey's a big fan of the double layer firmness.
So the double layer adds strength.
What else? It gives you a firmer lay.
Okay.
Something flatter because you're stretching through 2 different fabrics. It also if you don't want to use an underquilt, one of the options is to run a closed cell foam pad, and if you run it between the layers, it doesn't slide around on you
as much.
Yes, it will still slide around, just not as much.
Josie says a 2.2 hex 70 double layer.
Yeah, that's good for
Yeah, that's a
450.
beast right there.
That's a beast of a hammock right there. Yeah, I don't think anybody in this chat is going to blow out that hammock. What happened to Jenny? Did we lose her?
Rip Stop by the Road. There's actually a chart on there that gives you the weight rating per fabric and whether single layer or double layer. So you can sort of play around with the different combinations of fabrics also. Like I have one hammock that's a double layer, is 1.9 mil spec multicam on the outside and like 1.6 Hyper D on the inside. And that's another thing with double layers. If you're wanting to set up, as some of y'all know, with all my different rigs, I do a lot of color themes. And with the double layer, you can do one color on the outside layer and a different color on the inside layer just to bring you gear combination colors together and stuff.
Let's see. Y'all check this sweetness out. This is the first time in the 5 years that Mike and I have been hanging together, or actually 4 years that Mike and I have been hanging together. He came up to me and says, I need you to right now walk back to the campsite and take a picture of my rig because it is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And I walked back and I was like, damn, boy, he did good. He been paying attention. So Mike is now all fancified and color coordinated and did a darn good job. You know, hammock setups and rigs are kind of like project cars for all you car guys out there. You never quite get them done because every time you get close to getting them done, you just kind of change it up. So let's see.
And back to the budget comment thing is, I kind of have the opinion, if you're going to get into any hobby, you can afford what you want to afford with your hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You might need to skip lunches. You might need to skip going out to a fancy restaurant or going to a concert or taking a trip somewhere. You know, it's like making sacrifices with anything else in life that you want to accomplish. Let's say if you want or feel that you need that 0 degree quilt that's $250,
$300,
like whatever. And like John said, talk to the vendor. You know, they might be on a 12-week lead time. It's going to take them 12 weeks. They might be willing to let you make a $50 a week payment. You never know unless you ask. I'm not going to say that any of the vendors will do that. I'm just saying nothing hurts to be asked.
Keep in mind these aren't big corporations. Let's see. John's here. His wife's here. His son's here. That's the bulk of trailheads. If not all of trailheads. Well, we don't have Caleb. I'm sure Caleb.
And one thing that I think newbies don't understand, and I certainly didn't, and I'm finding out now, is now would be the time to order for spring and summer.
Yes.
So don't think about getting a 0 degree underquilt right now. Hopefully mine will be here soon, John. But now we're planning ahead for spring and summer because the lead times are so far out. I would have never imagined. It's worth it. I have no regrets. I totally understand, but you've got to think 3-4 months ahead of time.
You know, I mean,
buy once, cry once.
Yeah. Or win a waffle and never cry.
And in the case of hammock gear, I'm gonna say, Jenny, even though you might say you're on a budget, after you get that first rig, you will eventually buy a second one.
Yep.
I'm sure.
So, you know, that's why I can come on out to the house. We will pull all my rigs out on a Saturday or Sunday, and you can lay in each and every one of them, and you will realize that they all lay just a little bit differently. That we may be using. Go ahead.
Oh, well, that one that I was in at your house that day, I mean, granted, that was the very first one I've ever laid in.
Did that one have a full length zipper or partial length zipper?
I think it was full length.
What color was it? Do you remember?
Blue, I think.
No. The tarp was blue.
I wasn't paying attention to the color of it, but I don't remember.
I think you were in my trailheads in that side zip. I think you were in the trailhead side zip, which is the one that Christy was sleeping in at John Rock.
Yeah.
That the owner of Trailheads, John Rammel, is here, and his wife Karen, who sewed it, who's the other owner of Trailheads, is here as well. So, my favorite part of the hammock community is the community itself. If you ask a question about a Dutchware Gear hammock on any of the forums, there's a good chance, hey, what's going on, Gun Loving Grandpa? Yeah. There's a pretty good chance Dutch himself is going to reply to your question. Yeah. Or if you ask about a dream hammock, you'll get a comment from Randy. Or Trailheads, you'll get John. Or Autumn Ultralight Anne-Marie is going to be there. Or, you ask a question, hey, I really want to buy this Jacks Are Better quilt. And next thing you know, I see it and I tag the owners in it. And they're like, yeah, it's out of stock on site, but I can have one put together for you tomorrow. Just shoot us an email.
Yeah.
And that's something else I want to say about the cottage vendors. There are people just like us, and there's a lot of times you might have a question at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're up for whatever reason. Maybe you work second shift, whatever. There's a lot of times you can get a response right away at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning from these cottage vendors. And I can attest to that from both sides because I've been that guy that was answering them questions at 3 o'clock in the morning. Going over details with a customer on stuff. And I've been that customer that had that question at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, that sort of made me want to spend my money with that person a little bit more whenever hey, 2 o'clock in the morning, I can ask this guy a question. And he's Johnny on the spot with an answer. And I wake up in the morning at 7 knowing, hey, I just did this to my piece of equipment that I got coming and made it even more cooler than what it was going to be.
Yep.
And they're going to be right near the trees beside you. Heck, they might be sharing a head tree with you. And they're going to be like asking you questions. The people making the mass production gear, they don't know nothing about camping. They're just showing up at a factory to do a job and get a paycheck.
I'm going to say hello to Buck out there. That's Gun Loving Grandpa.
What's going on, Buck? I've never known your name. Welcome again.
Barry Cajun's here.
Our Cajun showed up. So, G's always got the question, where do I put my CCW? Where do I put my sidearm? They make, if you reach out to John or Anne-Marie or, some of the other vendors and say, hey, I carry a Glock 23 with me all the time. I need a pocket for it and it alone. Yeah. They will put something together so that you have a pocket to drop it in wherever you want it to be dropped in. If you want something that sits, just a little side pocket that sits between the bug net and the hammock, just on the outside so that it's right there, they'll design it so that it's right there. So all you got to do is just reach out to your spot and Bob's your uncle. I've got my sidearm.
Now, would it be possible to do like a sticky holster, like sewn into it, so that you could have access to it inside the hammock if
most
you needed
definitely,
to?
Yeah, most definitely. Let's see if I've got it. This is something along the lines, but not the same.
One of my ridge lines or some of my ridge line organizers, the way they're made, the middle opens up. So I have pockets on this outside, pockets on this outside, and then there's a pocket in the middle. I can set my pistol barrel down, facing away from me, right there in my ridgeline organizer. So if I need to, I'd reach right there. If I had to, I could shoot right through the ridgeline organizer, or I can just whatever.
Yeah, because
so, I mean,
I never leave home without. I never leave. Go ahead, Mike.
So let's see. Let's pull this one up. This is one of them. This is the only one I've actually physically done it with. This is my Hammock Mantis. It's got these two little wings on each side of the bug net that my Glock 19 fit just nicely right there in that pocket. Oh, I'm sorry, right there in that pocket on the side. It just hung out just fine. It was reach over my shoulder right there and go.
Yeah, like
I probably swept my, when I pulled it out, I probably swept my toes. But when you're floating in the air in some fabric, it's going to require a little bit of intelligence.
Like Walker said, you can, depending on your holster, you can hang it from your ridge line. We have what they call hang time hooks. It's for holding your phone, but you can get a magnetic mount and put on it, and you can stick your pistol to that magnet right there on your ridge line. There's endless ways to do things. I'll put it to you this way: you can do anything in a hammock that you can do in a tent. If you can't, I have not found what it is that you can't do.
Well, I can tell you a couple things you can't do.
There you go. That's the hang time hook holding my
nice
10-inch tablet watching some Netflix movie in the house. So I don't have a picture of mine directly, but that's holding a 2-pound tablet. So
one thing I wanted to say to G and to Jenny is when I bought my Wise Owls, I did what all internet shoppers do. You go on and you read reviews, and you have no idea who these people are, and you're like 5 stars, 4.8, whatever, and you think, oh, great, it's a local company, Mike, and we talked about that already. But that does not compare with talking to or messaging with the actual person that's going to be sewing your rig. And John's on here, and when I won that waffle, he had the patience of a saint, because he was like, well, what color do you want your end caps? And I'm like, what are end caps? And what kind of suspension do you want? I'm like, what is suspension? I knew nothing. And they will honestly take the time, no strings attached, to explain all of it to you, so you really know where your money's going, what you're spending it on, what you're going to get. You'll never get that from some big company.
So I got a question for Mike and Pickl. Maybe they can answer. If you had like $1,000 budget, what would be in a new hammock, or what would be your setup that you would go with?
$1,000 or unlimited?
$1,000. I would probably spend about $700 on quilts and $100, split the $300 on a hammock and a tarp.
Yep.
It's kind of like I heard
and when he says split the $300 on a hammock and a tarp, you're not getting garbage stuff. I mean, $150 hammock is going to get you just about any legitimate hammock that you need to spend on. Can you spend $300 on a hammock? Oh yeah, most definitely. Can you spend $400 on a tarp? Done it, been there, got the t-shirt, guilty completely. It can happen. That that fall set, not that one. Whoa, that was loud.
See, if I was going to do it,
if somebody was going to do a tarp, go ahead, G. If you're going to do a tarp.
If I was going to do a tarp, I'd probably want like a custom tarp with my logo on there, if there was a possibility.
Yes.
Like sewn in the fabric.
They would actually print it on it, because once you start pushing holes with the sewing needle through the fabric,
Yeah.
you start causing holes in the fabric, which stops being waterproof. So in most cases, it's printed on the tarp, and that can be done. Once you start printing on the tarp, that's when your tarp gets a little bit more expensive.
Show
That's when you
pictures of
start
the Trump tarp.
of the what?
Trump tarp.
John has a good place that he has tags made. Like he's had our Tar Heel State Hangers logo and the Gear Report.
Yep.
Well, it had the Gear Report ones, but his logo for Trailheads. He has these tags made that he can sew on the tarp. So let's just say you wanted a olive drab tarp, you can
with
still have
a patch panel, with that peak triangle being a patch panel, so that you could throw, morale patches on it. You can do it.
Oh, I was talking about the tarp. You can have an olive drab tarp and still have your logo in a tag that's like, I don't know, it's like 2 by 1 inch. I'm sure they'd make larger tags. So there's different options for being able to accomplish what you want. And going with a basic plain color like that would save you, you'd be back in that $150 range, depending on what style tarp. Boudreaux.
Yep, somebody needed a hug.
Aw.
It's that time of night. He's like, Dad, it's bedtime.
That's
Dad, it's bedtime. It's about 8:15. He's like, Dad, it's bedtime.
And with that said, if you haven't, go give us a thumbs up, ring the bell, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Yep, all that good stuff. Give me some likes. I mean, there's 16 of you out there. Just hit the little plus button or the little thumbs up.
For somebody starting off, I would.
Hey, what's going on, TJ?
I would recommend a 20-degree quilt set. That's a good all around. And most people's not going to go out and go camping below 20 degrees. And you can use a 20 degrees on up into the 80s and 90s. You just loosen it, let the ends hang loose. It's what we call venting it. And basically, at that point in time, you're just using it as a wind block.
See, we have mountains out here where you're pushing 10,000 feet.
Yep. So
and you're still not even at the peak.
Right. But how often are you up there? If you're above tree line, then yeah, you're probably not going to be able to use your hammock if you're above tree line. If you're down below tree line, and your trees are quite a bit larger in diameter in some cases than what ours are. So there are, different regional specifics. There are different regional specifics out there.
Yeah, and if you know that the majority of the time that you go camping, that it's going to be well below 20 degrees, then you know to go with 10-degree or 0-degree quilts.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see the
sun's really the sun's really washing out. Yeah, you're gonna have different tree sizes. I know people will take an extra set of straps and use a 15-foot strap as a tree hugger just to get around the trunks of the tree, and then have your normal strap come off of it. Different parts of the country are going to have different, challenges. I know some guys that are out in the desert Southwest that don't have any trees, but they carry rock climbing gear and pitons and will attach the trees to the rocks and hang off the rock crevices for the weekend.
Those are just trees. Those are just trees in my front yard.
Yeah.
And they've got they're bigger in diameter than I am. Let's just put it that way. And they probably reach up a good 70 foot.
Right, but you only need to reach up a good 8 foot. 6 to 8 foot. I think, and at Trailheads, Christy figured it out when I told her that the span that she was hanging off of was 16 feet. And then I made her walk it off. And she's like, why are you making me do this?
Yeah.
I was like, well, number one, you're sober, so you don't remember doing it Thursday.
Hey, I'm going to have to say, you can't hold anything against anybody trying to learn something at that hang, because that was not your typical hang nor learning environment.
No, it wasn't.
That
I
was
still learned a lot, though.
What not to do.
Yeah, there was a lot of what not to do.
But I still learned a lot, and everything Pickl made me do and other people made me do was so helpful. And even though I felt like an idiot, and I hate feeling like an idiot, it's worth it. Ask questions.
You were thinking too hard. You were overthinking it.
That's welcome to my brain. That's what I do about everything.
She was also hitting the sauce a little too early too.
Just a little bit.
So you don't want to talk about what goes on in brains. I have ADHD, so
yeah,
it's
so do I.
1,000 channels playing at one time.
Yeah, I know the filter.
Yep. Mike's got it going on. I'm looking at 6.5 foot of computer screens. Just to accomplish this. So yeah, it happens, and that's kind of one of the things that I like about hammocks, because you've got the tree straps and the suspension straps and the guy lines and the tarp and the whoopee slings and the quilt lines and the guy lines for the hammock to hold out the head end and the foot end. It can get very complicated, or it can be very simple, straightforward. That it's all of how you make it. You can do like Mike does and wait till it's after dark and set up in the dark, so you just have it up and just like, forget it, it's up, I'm done, I'm passing out. Or you can be like me, and the first thing I do is I get to camp and I set it up, and then I take a couple steps back, and then I do the, is it working? Yep. And then I'll tweak it left, I'll tweak it right, and then I'll, do it again. Then I'll sit down in it and test it out, make sure it's good on my little tushy, and then I'll go in and I'll add my quilts, and then I got to test it out again. And it takes me a good 30-40 minutes if I'm, setting up for a weekend someplace to get it just how I want it. And even then,
I'd probably have to be.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like at group hangs, it becomes to where it's more that you're building your house than you are just hanging your rig.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to be more like Mike, because I got OCD hardcore. And so then I'd have to okay, well, my trees are 12.5 feet apart, so my rig has to be somewhere in the exact middle. Now I'm going to have to break out the tape measure.
Yep.
No.
Yeah,
sometimes you just get it right.
It'll start becoming a habit. Like if you constantly look for that same span of trees, and you're generally using that same span of trees, it'll become like muscle memory, which way to shift your hammock or your tarp or whatever.
I know how high my straps go. That's a 15 foot, that's a 16 foot, that's a 17 foot. I know how far the hammock's coming down. Once the hammock's up, I know how far my tarp's going to overlap the end of my hammock so that the tarp's centered and groove on down the road.
Well, see, that's what I don't need anything that's very complicated. I need something simple I can put up within, I know it's not going to take seconds, but minutes, and then be done with it.
Yes. And they have sets out there. You got 3 options: cheap, light, and easy. Pick 2.
Uh-huh.
If you want it cheap and easy to use, it's not going to be very light. If you want it light and easy to use, it ain't going to be cheap. If you want it light and cheap, it's going to be a little bit more complicated to put together. So
a lot of the cheap stuff's actually harder to set up because they just don't have stuff dialed in properly.
No. I think you have to go into hammock camping, Jenny, knowing there's a huge learning curve. And I'm a perfectionist. I'm an overthinker. I don't like feeling stupid, and I still feel stupid. But it's okay. Because every time you hang, you'll get a little bit better. You'll understand the terms a little bit better. There's the tense. Is that the tense pencil?
Poor Barry.
Fallen.
You know, and then there's when veterans make rookie mistakes.
All right, Karen. Cheers.
Now, that veteran had a lot of help. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. There was a lot of help.
Like right here.
Yeah, I should just show that one. That doesn't show me.
Okay.
As he calls it, pushing him out.
I'm slightly self-conscious because Barry did not make near the sag in that thing that I did.
Well, if you want to bring it up,
go ahead.
There's a sag for Barry.
And look at the one for me.
He is definitely not working with what you're.
Yes, that's my butt right there. Thank you for highlighting with the cursor. We all appreciate that so much.
Okay, I'm just gonna stay quiet on there because. Yep.
Crickets. I mean, that's even proof. So there's Christy, Barry, and Deanna and I, and we're all sitting under because it's absolutely monsoon raining out.
Yeah.
And then see how hard it's raining. I mean, that's a halfway decent picture of literally how hard it was coming down. This is at John Rock, and Christy's gone.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's not raining that hard.
Oh, it was pouring.
Oh, it was coming down.
It was pouring, yeah.
I was trying to get back to that hammock picture.
And that's something else with hammock camping. It's going to rain.
I tell you all the time that Shug told Stuffy how to run his guidelines for his tarp. I'll save that story for a different time. Hey, look, Mike.
Pickle, were you in a tent?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
that is my favorite tent. I love that little tent.
And I will say, if I'm going to ever get a tent, it will be that Lightheart.
Yeah.
Look at Pickle.
Pickle used that. He was doing a review on it when we did the through hike of the Urari Trail. And that thing set up so quick, easy, and tore down. I'm over there packing up just as fast as hard as I can. And he's like standing there waiting on me. And we like, our feet hit the ground at the same time, and it was bam, straight to tear down.
Yep. And I was ready to go a good 3-4 minutes before Mike was. I've been looking for this picture most of the night. That's Barry sitting in the chair and his SMR Stratus behind in the orange. This was out at Yates' place, and Barry and I came in at night in the dark in the rain. And I'm not talking a light little drizzle. I'm talking it was raining. And first thing I set up was the tarp to get out of the rain, and then I set up the hammock, and then I set up the quilts, and everything was set up. And to be honest, that was the best set I've ever put up in my life, first time without any fiddling.
That's interesting.
It was in the dark, in the rain, complete muscle memory. I was not thinking about it. I was just trying to get it up because it was about 10 o'clock at night. And y'all know that I am not a fan of being up after dark. I want to be in my bed and asleep. And yeah, that was it. That was the best set. So sometimes you fiddle with it, and sometimes you just throw it up.
So, Pickle, can you zoom in on that black and gray? See, I really like that tarp.
Yeah, it is a charcoal gray with a bright blue trim. It is
and what you're seeing that looks a different color gray, I wish y'all could see my cursor, is actually his doors pinned back.
Yeah,
on
that darker gray
side.
is just the same thing, only double level.
See, I really like that look. But like right in the center between right in the center between where it looks like two black patches, which might be darker gray, would be a great spot to put my logo.
What, right in here?
The entire tarp is one color.
Yeah.
It's just the way the light and the way he's got it set up and what his door's pinned back. So he could grab his guidelines and go over there and just adjust down because he has these poles in it, in his tarp, and go from that's what they call porch mode, the way he has it set up there. He could pull the doors down to the ground and go into storm mode in literally seconds.
Yeah,
about as long as it took him to walk around the tarp.
I pull on that little string right there and this little string over here and just cinch them straight down. That whole side of the tarp goes down and I'm covered on both sides. The doors are just pinned back. That's a piece of shock cord and a clip. Unhook the clip and then hook the clips into the all four corners, and I'm basically weatherproofed in from anything coming down.
Yeah, I really like that hammock setup right there.
And Jeannie, back to your question about being on a budget and wanting to get started. Don't look at it as, oh my God, I got to spend $1,000.
I can get you a perfectly serviceable setup for $250.
I'm just using numbers for conversation purposes.
Yeah.
Don't look at it as, oh my God, I got to spend $1,000. Pick your quilt to start with, because it's going to be your most expensive.
Or heaven forbid you know how to sew.
Yeah. DIY is also an option. But buy your quilt. Then, a few weeks later, buy your hammock. Then a few weeks later, buy your tarp. Or however. Don't look at it as having to make one huge purchase at one time. Break it down into pieces.
And I would even go back and say, go to a group hang before you spend a dime. Go to at least one. I'd say go to 2 or 3.
And then Christy's going to tell you to go out, spend $60 on a raffle, win $1,000 worth of gear at said raffle.
It's not a bad way to go. I'm just saying.
And then ruin the rest of your summer because you're waiting on it to arrive and it hasn't arrived yet.
No comment.
Pickl.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jeff out in the crowd.
Hey, you got part of it.
Oh, was Jeff here?
I did.
No, that was me that said it leaks.
Oh.
That was me posting that it leaks because Barry missed his Stratus. That Stratus leaks.
Is that a tarp, Pickl?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
that was the orange tarp in the background.
Okay.
Well, let me ask this.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all say tarps.
Okay.
Now, the tarp I'm used to seeing is your normal everyday blue tarp.
Yep.
Now, is it different? The type of tarps?
Or is it materials different? Materials different. Your dimensions may be different. The term tarp and rainfly are kind of used interchangeable in this place. Rainflies are usually a little bit more tent based because they're designed a little bit more to fit like a turtle shell over the tent, whereas our tarps fit a little bit more. Let's just bring the picture back up. Barry's is more of a rainfly because it's shaped in that piece.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is more of a tarp because it's not a complete rectangle flat, but it can be laid completely flat out or straight out, and the lines guide. That pretty one that I showed earlier of Mike's.
It's so pretty. That thing is downright sexy. I'm just saying. Mike, don't get any ideas. The tarp.
Oh, I got ideas.
The tarp is sexy.
Where'd I go?
See, Mike, this is what happens when you come in late.
Oh, I'm used to the shenanigans.
Yeah, he's used to the shenanigans. Let's pull that down. Let me find it. Because yours is a 12 by 12, correct, Mike?
No,
yours is a 12 by 10. Yours is 12 by 10. That is a 12 by 10 flat tarp.
Sexy.
Okay.
Do you have a picture of his whole rig?
Rain jacket versus golf umbrella is a good way to describe the difference between the fly.
Yeah.
Good one there, Dosey. And Chris Walker, he made a good point. A cheap $10 blue tarp. I actually prefer the camouflage ones from Harbor Freight. That's what I started off with and used it for quite a while. I mean, we had so many of them cheap tarps, we could make it look like Tarp City, look like a homeless shelter, entrapment camp or something.
You don't have to make this multi-$100 investment all at once. It can be, okay, with my tax return this year, I'm getting that underquilt that I've been wanting. Or I'm going to spend and splurge on that hammock that I've been wanting. Or you know what? I found somebody and I spent $20 in a raffle and I won a $300 tarp. Or I won a $300 top quilt. That's where my first top quilt came from, was a raffle for Palmetto State Hangers. I put $20 in and walked away with a $250 top quilt.
And there's always people selling their gear too. So you can buy high quality gear on the secondhand market and save a bundle. Let's just say Pickl bought a green quilt. Well, 2 weeks later, he decided he didn't like that color, or he needed it a little bit longer, or whatever. He'll sell that quilt off to take that money to be able to buy his new quilt that he wants to get.
And if you're doing it right, and this is one of those kind of frustrating things with new hammock campers, because they'll just throw somebody's borrowed gear on the ground like it's supposed to get dirty out in the woods.
I never did that. I'm just saying.
And experienced hammock campers are going to cringe at that, because if you're doing it right, the only thing that's going to touch the ground are your ground stakes.
And your pretty waterfall ground cloth. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, the pretty waterfall ground cloth.
Yeah.
So wait, everything else should not touch the ground.
Or you can be like me and just get there and throw all your stuff out your pack on the ground and just like, whatever.
Yep, that's the Polycro. You can also make a quick ultralight tarp out of window seal kits and some tape. You know, the Polycro that you put on your windows if you don't have good window seals in the wintertime to keep the heat in, to create that vapor barrier or that moisture barrier. Polycro works as a pretty good, it's clear. You ain't going to hide nothing under it. You can see right through it, but it will work as a tarp.
That could be problematic.
It's not going to...
If you see some houses being built or some apartments being built, the white plastic stuff they put on the outside. Tyvek. You can generally pull in there and ask a construction worker, hey, y'all got any of that crap?
That Tyvek crap, and they're going to hand you a part of a roll that they can't use, that they're just getting ready to throw away anyway. They make great ground cloth. Great.
If that don't work, circle the block, pick up a 6-pack, and come back and say, hey, I'll trade you a 6-pack for a piece big enough, whatever size you want. And I'm sure you'll probably get it.
You'll get it.
My only thing about a clear tarp is, for us girl, I did learn how to change inside my hammock at trailheads. But I am glad I have a winter tarp with doors coming, because it serves as a changing room, privacy room. It's worth its money, in my opinion, a good tarp.
You know, my winter tarp with the doors shut, I'm pretty much protected knees up.
Yeah.
In the mornings, if I'm needing to, I'm backpacking and I need to take a wet wipe bath, or I need to actually completely change clothes, I will do it in the hammock. And then at that point, it's a little bit of, it's no different than changing clothes in your bed under your covers. That's the best way to practice it. Get in bed, get under your covers, and just try to stay, torso close. There's none of this, stretching out and whatnot. Try to stay torso close for the practice.
Well, here's the thing. There's some of us who can't do torso close when changing.
I bet you can.
I
bet you if you're in a hammock, you're going to be able to figure it out.
It can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done. Also, if you're at a group hang, we're all at the same level of modesty and available modesty.
Yeah, that's none.
Either sneak back to camp when everybody's around the campfire. None of these rigs are going to be close to the campfire. Yeah. Because we're all scared about that one campfire ember all of a sudden just catching all of our stuff on fire. At Trailheads, I was probably close to a quarter mile away from camp.
Yeah.
It was a good little hike out to Camp Shenanigans on the back 40. And I think that's where John wanted those of us that he considered family, because that way we wouldn't inflict the rest of the campers with our shenanigans. I mean,
Derek dubbed it Shenanigans Shelter.
Yeah, the Shenanigans Shelter. Yeah. Mike and I were back there. Derek was back there. Christy got thrown back there.
Shannon and Justin.
Shay and Justin and Don Baker were back there.
Yeah, Don.
So, but it's one of those, if we're all back there talking around and Christy was like, "Hey, look, I need to change right quick." Yeah, no problem. Yeah. And literally everybody moved to the other side of camp, walked off, turned our backs.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the privacy that you're looking for.
And if you have enough moonshine, you won't even care if you have it or not. Just saying.
When it comes to pooping or peeing in the woods, that's a little different, but nobody wants to see that anyways. So, I just, once you get to the spot that makes you, everyone knows, keep the hooligans in the back of the class. John, you are so correct. You are so correct. When it comes to pooping in the woods, nobody wants to see it anyway. So it's just up to you that when you get to that spot, kind of look around. The worst stories are when you're on the trail and you got to go and you hike off into the woods like 30, 20, feet or whatnot, yards, like you're supposed to, find the perfect spot, and then realize the trail kind of came around.
Yeah.
So if you walked another 5 feet, you'd be on the trail again.
You'll learn how fast you can go when that happens. I've been there, done that. Just saying.
Yeah, people have this fear about changing and everything. Me and Pickl has camped together numerous times. Just too many to count. I've never seen him change clothes. Hell, I've never seen him use the bathroom. I might have seen him walk over there from the campfire and 50, 100 yards or whatever, and I knew Pickl was over there doing what Pickl was doing, but it ain't like I was sitting there watching him, and it's not one of those things where people are like just all perving out on you and stuff.
And it's funny, the things I was most afraid of.
The things Pickl's do in the woods.
Oh, come on.
Oh, my God.
High maintenance.
Maintenance, yeah.
There was a hair flip involved in that, too, by the way. Just saying. But
I was going to say the things I was most afraid of, like my first hang at John Rock, pooping in the woods, getting undressed in front of everybody, weird sounds in the night, were things that I did not even think about twice when I got there. Didn't bother me one bit. They were easy. You just got to go to a group hang.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I will do it. I just certain events prevented me from going this year.
I'm about to drag her to Thanksgiving.
I was gonna say you got to, girl. I'm turning 50. You got to come to Thanksgiving.
Where is it?
Falls Lake State
Falls Lake,
Area,
just on the other side of Durham.
Camp area, Group Site 4. Jesus.
Well,
it's in November. It's the 14th.
12th through the 15th.
Yep.
We're gonna party. Just saying. Girls turning 50. We're gonna party.
The 12th through the 15th.
Is that your birthday weekend?
It's the 17th. Yeah.
Oh, that would be your birthday weekend.
Quit acting ignorant. We're gonna party.
Well, we'll discuss it and work out the logistics.
Yeah. You need to come, though.
I can only come for one night.
That's, if you can come for the day, come on in the morning, stay the day, and head home at night. Every little bit is going to help. And
we've had people come by just to take a look at gear, and we might spend 5 minutes with them talking gear, or we might take them around to every single rig there, and spend an hour, 2 hours talking gear with them, and then they have a knowledge base to go home and work off of. They got a better understanding and idea of what they're looking at and what they're needing and wanting.
I've had a young lady show up to the last 2 group hangs we've hosted, Hangsgiving last November, and then Heartthrob back in February. I set her a rig up both times and walked her through the process of setting up a rig. I walked off. 10 minutes later, she's taken her rig down and she's gone home. So.
And Derek, I did not have to be carried. There's a difference between being carried and
No,
being
I don't recall anybody carrying Christy to her hammock. Now, we almost had to carry Mike to his hammock, but
thank you, Pickl.
He flat said no. Christy just needed an elbow and
a steadying man arm.
Stumbling in the right direction, if I recall correctly.
That's correct. All right, Arp, you got to make the drive.
2 steps to the left, 2 steps to the right, and then 2 steps forward.
All right. Yeah. So Mike had mentioned earlier that we've camped close to each other. I think Trailheads back in January was about the closest that we've camped.
Yeah, we were together on that one.
That's my tarp in the front, and that's Mike's tarp on the other side. We were sharing the same head tree, and we had 2 separate foot trees.
Our tarps were actually like overlapping each other.
Tarps were overlapping in the middle.
We had like a sitting area in the middle, or like a hallway.
Brokeback Mountain. Just saying.
Would you have liked to have been a part of that?
Hell no.
Don't lie.
Clark said he had to drag me. No carrying, and that was dragging. Whatever. I used to like you, Carp. Yes, Derek, you have to.
Yep. Hey, man, if you fly into Charlotte, I will come down and I will pick you up if necessary. Or you can fly into Durham and have like a 10-minute ride.
Derek has to because he's older than me. He's already hit the 50, so.
You're talking, it's a 3.5-day drive to get to the East Coast.
Man, hop on a damn plane. Wear a mask for 5 hours.
I don't own a mask.
Just give us enough heads up to make sure we got a hammock that supports 350.
Yeah,
that's all I need. I just need that heads up. I know people.
I do not own a mask.
Yeah, well, you can pick those up walking in the door, I'm guessing.
Masks.
Bandana works.
All right.
Bandanas are cheaper.
I'm just saying, Art and Derek, You gotta come. It's a big 5-0. Come on now.
Barry's got you covered on the hammock.
There we go.
There you go, G.
Handled.
See,
All you got to do is get out here.
Plus, surely by then I'll have my
that's the-
rainbow unicorn fabulous rig going.
you can always count on Louisiana boy to have it it covered.
Where's Hammock? That's funny.
Hey, in case anybody's wondered that my goatee's getting nice length here. That's what it was last January when I was up in Ohio for the
Look at that.
for the Trailheads hang.
Looks like a mountain
So,
goat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
It's-
know
that's-
it won't be that long again.
Oh,
The
Jimmy.
hell?
I know somebody won't let it.
The hell. The hell with that. The hell.
All right, Jenny,
So
let's have him send us pictures tomorrow after he gets up. He'll be clean shaven.
I won't be there.
Well, you gonna sneak down the mountain tonight and trim me up in my sleep? All right.
Mm-mm.
See if you on my Christmas list.
No trimming necessary. That's what Nair's for.
Rocking the dime bag look.
Wow. Ouch. Thanks,
No
Doty.
comment. I like it.
Ouch. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. I'll just go back to my little Beyonce my Beyonce floor covered tarp, and I'll stare at myself because I'm so
sure you
pretty. I do.
You and
I'm
your
sure
high
you do.
maintenance self.
I do.
So,
I look.
Look.
I get out of the shower every morning, and this is a holdover from my car sales days. I get out of the shower every morning. I look at myself. I get up nice, close, personal in the mirror, and I look at myself and I say, "You're a liar. You're a cheat. You're a thief. But aren't you pretty?"
And
That's
have
how I
witnessed
start.
that.
That's how I start every single morning,
This
and
has
have
gone way
started
downhill.
every morning since about '97, like that.
Wait, Derek went bye-bye. You guys, don't shave. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I did a mic. Oh, that's a crying shame.
The facial hair is the thing. Just saying.
Oh, do we need to relive that moment, Mike?
What moment?
Go ahead if you would like to.
I can if I would like to. Let me get back to it. Let's see. That would have been November of 19. Let's see. That was after
Derek,
Shug.
you got a month and a half to grow it back out.
I don't know if I have. I don't know. I don't think I have any pictures of that. That would have been on TSH. Because I was doing the shaving. I wasn't taking pictures of that.
You shaved who?
Oh, I'm the only person on the planet that has taken Mike's knife out of his own sheath and harmed a hair on his head and not gotten killed. I shaved his head and face and mustache. Head, beard, face, mustache.
You said head and I was like, stop right there. We don't need to know anymore.
Head, beard, mustache. I know there's pictures of it. I just don't have any of them because I didn't take it. I didn't take the pictures. I was too busy with the clippers and with the electric clippers.
No. Just say no to the clippers. Just say no.
Well,
so, it was for a good cause. Last year we at the raffle at Thanksgiving, which we're not doing this year because it's been a tough year on the vendors, and supporting the vendors means more than them giving us gear to give away. We gave away $6,000 worth of gear, and we raised over $4,000. Oh, we gave away $10,000 worth of gear, and we raised over $4,000 for the Laurel Mountain.
3450 was the official count.
Okay. So $34.50 was raised for Morrill Mountain State Park, and if we got over the $3,000 mark, we were shaving Mike's head and beard. If we got over the $4,000 mark, what?
It was 2,500. If we reached 2,500, that's what I said whenever we was on the through hike.
Is it just 25? Okay.
Yeah.
I said $4,000 because I have a corporate American job, and I mean, let's be honest, folks.
And now he sits at home.
I'm just still sure that $4,000 is not worth shaving off a beard.
I have really beautiful hair, and I work a corporate job. So, yeah, if they got to $4,000, they were going to shave my head and beard and mustache as well.
Wait, do we have a pic of this?
Do what? No, it was both. It wasn't choice because nobody would have agreed to that.
I can attest. I have seen him with short hair, and I'm talking about normal short hair and no beard.
Mm-hmm.
Only a very few handful of times. It's always been the long hair or the goatee or trying to grow a beard. But I can't.
I tried COVID. I went 9 weeks without shaving at all, and it was just starting to look a slight bit white trashy on the sides.
But I have never.
Derek, on the group, do a search for Thanksgiving 2019.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't mind a shaved head. A shaved head can be sexy, but you got to have a little something. Just saying.
I haven't shaved in
way off track of hammock camping.
All right, so here's the beard at its longest. I think I shaved it or trimmed it back about the next week. It's in my happy spot in the Linville Gorge.
You don't look too happy.
Dude, it was cold. And if you don't believe me, Barry was on that trip. That is the first weekend in January of this year. That is on the Olson Trail. That is the only time in my life I looked in Barry's eyes and saw pure, unbridled fear that he was worried he was going to fall off the edge and go down 1,000 feet.
Y'all need to come out here.
No. We're talking
drop is nothing.
Right, but this they fly F-16 fighter jets and C-130s through this gorge on a fairly consistent basis. Problem is, I'm never there to see it.
Okay, since this has been an episode of pretty much shenanigans, and we're coming up on the end, is there?
Yeah, we are coming up on the end. Any other questions?
Golly, this time went by fast.
I kind of have an idea of what I kind of want.
Okay.
And I kind of have an idea of like the budget I have in mind.
Okay.
So now I guess it's just, do I pull the trigger and order what I think I want, or do I?
Let's discuss it off. Let's discuss it offline.
And if you have an idea of what you want, if you can get with one of the vendors, they will walk you right through it. I mean, it's kind of like going to the car dealership knowing that you want a stick shift. You want a 2-door.
Or showing up and saying, what's the best car?
Yeah, if you got a little bit of information to work with, then there's, they can work with you and get you, walk you right on through getting you what you want.
But you really need to go to a group hang and spend a night. I would before I spent my money.
I think the closest group hang that I could probably think of would be Boise.
So Todd,
and that's an 11-hour drive.
Todd Masden up at Parallel 43. He's been on the show. I believe you guys may have talked. He's probably, in my opinion, your closest best vendor.
Yeah, that's an 11-hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Josie.
Yeah, tell them why you think you want it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Derek.
You think you want it, you might not. It might not work for what you think it will.
Yeah.
Or there might be a better option.
And see, I was thinking about working with Parallel 43 because he knows the terrain that like we out here on the West Coast deal with.
I mean, I realize everybody right now staring at Mike's beautifully bald head. He looks like a turtle.
No.
He looks like Girdle the turtle.
Mike Myers.
Okay? But look at the stack of drug dealer money that the state park ranger has, the park superintendent has in his hand, and Mike's like handing over the drug money that he found under a rock and a log in the woods.
Come on, Derek.
That doesn't look like 20s.
Oh no. There were some C notes. No. That's 100 on the outside. There's some C notes in there. Whatever. You know, there was quite a bit of cash that we handed over. And the best part is
$450 in that wad right there.
Mike, what are the last 3-4 years that we've given them, and how many times have we doubled up?
The first year we did 200. The second year we did 400. The third year we did 1,600, and then last year we done 3,450. So
all right, so
we doubled, tripled, doubled, quadrupled, and then more than doubled.
So I got a random question.
Yep.
For Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody like donated $1,500,
okay,
would you shave your head?
No. Not even for a one-time $1,500 donation. We are not taking donations this year. We are not taking a raffle this year for the state parks. It's been too hard on the vendors. That we just want everybody. Trailheads has been gracious enough. Hey, Susan. Trailheads has been gracious enough to donate quite a bit of it as part of most of the meals and the cooking. So we
pretty much Trailheads has covered this whole entire hang, the rental site for the fees for the site, firewood, the food, everything. I mean, this Thanksgiving is on Trailheads.
I can't wait.
So we are T-minus 2 minutes or so. I want to thank everybody for this shenanigans laden edition of Hanging with Pickle and Mike. I want to thank our new hangers for joining us on this and getting a few questions out of the way before it kind of went off track and turned into a conversation with old friends, new friends, and lifelong friends. And I'm sorry, but that happens a lot on this show because this community is so tight that once you spend a weekend around a campfire with somebody, they are friends.
Family.
Yeah, whenever you go to a group hang, you'll show up as a stranger. 5 minutes later, you'll be friends. When you leave, you'll be family.
Yep, you'll be family. And absolutely. that doesn't change after 1 or 2 hangs, and it just the family grows. But like with every family, there are heartaches, there are growing pains, there are inner rivalries, there are sibling rivalries, and there is angst. You know what?
I've said it before. We literally go through everything together in this community. There's been times that people's been on their way to Hangs and broke down on the side of the road, and somebody detoured 2 hours to be able to pick them up and get them on the rest of the way to the hang. There's been times where
I called Mike. I called Mike one day and cussed him out for 35 minutes straight before I let him get a word in edgewise. And his response was, "Are you pissed off at me?" I was like, "No, I needed to cuss at somebody, and I knew you could take it." And we laughed for the next 20 minutes straight. You know, hug your friends, hug your family. As I end every show, there's a lot going on in this world, good, bad, otherwise. We may have different political views, we may have different religious views, but if a friend, family member, or acquaintance crosses your mind, please give them a call, give them a text, check on them, because, you know, there's a reason they randomly crossed your mind. John says, don't forget the delinquents, don't forget the black sheep. I just came across a picture of me and my cousins, and I'll probably reach out to them tomorrow just to make sure that everybody's fine. But again, love one another, say hi to one another, try to share a campfire with one another. And until we do this again, I will catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, Moose.